For the duration of the semester, our oral history group interviewed past Gordon State College alumni in order to provide a personal context to historical events, empower the interviewees by giving them a previously absent platform to tell their stories, and allow a space for the development of lifelong learning and relationships. This oral history project can be considered the second iteration of last year's research project as it complements its findings. This team of 6 conducted an initial round of interviews that consists of a relatively general set of questions which were developed from the context of the previous interviews. The previous iteration of this oral history project utilized the appreciative inquiry model of interviewing. Some interviewees found that this only allowed for certain kinds of stories to be told. We wanted them to have the most freedom to speak to their experiences. This group decided to go with a more straightforward approach when developing their survey questions. We selected alumni between the time frame of 1965 and 1975. We looked at common themes, topics, and events of that time period to formulate questions that the interviewees would most likely have some recollection of. We then developed a second follow-up round of inquiry based on the responses to the first. This would allow us to continue to let them be in control of their narrative, while allowing us to seek further elaboration in areas we found to be interesting or valued in some way. The second round would be recorded at a high level of quality for posterity and used for future research and education. In the end, we did 2 rounds of interviews using multiple styles of interviewing, including one-on-one and group settings, to varied results. Yeah, that's all you.
Oh, okay. This semester, applied psychology course headed by Dr. Traylor resumed the research study for emergence, an oral history project which began in the spring of 2021. The purpose of this project was for service learning and community engagement undergrad research. We documented marginalized perspectives from a few past Gordon alumni from both its college and high school divisions. Between the years of 1965 to 1975, there were many stories, ideas, and threads of logic the last oral history team laid down. Our team of 6 picked up from that point. Last semester, the question survey was developed with the appreciative inquiry model. We model our questions to allow for our interviewees to give an account of their experience without bias. Overall, we accomplished most of what we had originally sought out to do, as well as some things we had not anticipated. Our time with our interviewees was a learning experience, not exclusively in an academic sense. We did acquire some mostly usable data for others to use in various ways in the future, yes, but there was also the sense that as a team, we grew together as individuals and as a community.
So for the methodology and materials we used group interviews. We made intentional choices when mixing and matching interviews together. The first round of interviews were based on a standardized survey with questions designed to be general. Our second round of questions were based on the first round to allow interviewees to elaborate on topics and stories. The second round of interviews were conducted without a standardized survey, rather in a more conversational manner. We also used newspapers, Gordon State College yearbooks, which are also known as TAPs, and we also used the microfiche. We recorded the interviews with a mixture of high-tech 4K cameras, cell phones, Zoom, and laptops. The first round of interviews was mostly concerned with capturing legible audio. The second round of interviews were recorded with much nicer equipment. The second round of interviews were recorded on a theater stage with a comfortable setting.
The results in the first round of interviews, we conducted 9 one-on-one interviews with Olivia Hightower Banks, Jack Winover, Carolyn Ogletree Lawrence, Gabe Few Montgomery, Peter Banks, Rhonda Toone, Don Nooner, Russell Robertson, and Mary Ann Leverett. In the second round of interviews, we conducted 4 one-on-one in-person interviews consisting of Rhonda Toone, Peter Banks, Dr. Jeremy Richards, and Don Nooner, and 2 group interviews, the first consisting of Carolyn Ogletree Lawrence, Gabe Few Montgomery, and Olivia Hightower Banks, the second consisting of Don Nooner, Carolyn Ogletree Lawrence, Gabe Few Montgomery, and Olivia Hightower Banks. In the first round of interviews, we were able to gather all of them with legible audio and some with usable video as well. The second round of interviews had some sporadic technical problems with audio and video for the first 2 we conducted with Banks and Toone. However, the remaining interviews were conducted without any issues. They spoke about life on campus, such as cadet life, canteen stories, attending sporting and social events, and other various life experiences they had while they attended Gordon.
For the conclusion, there were small challenges that made the process a little longer for the oral history project. People who were older had difficulties setting up the interviews virtually over the internet. Some interviewees could not get transportation to conduct the interviews. The interview had to be set up, and there were times where the interviewer and interviewee could not come together because of such a busy schedule. Getting such old information on Gordon State was kind of hard because resources within the timeline were limited. Asking the interviewee such old questions was kind of hard for them to remember because it was so long ago. Further ongoing interviews should show the lives of earlier Gordon students and the diversity of the families. It also showed the different point of views from Gordon students and how they view the campus and campus life and the community.
Like, everybody look up, make sure we're looking at the camera when each person is speaking.
For my personal reflection, the oral history projects have been a good experience. I've learned about the history of Gordon, Barnesville, and the students of Gordon campus.
I learned from this history project that the cadets was very important due to leadership and respect that all of the students had for them around the campus, and that the campus was something that people can grow as a community.
From my personal experience, I was about Gordon and the history of Gordon. At first, I never knew that Gordon was a military school, so that was something that was new to me. But besides that, I was able to record the background footage, which I was able to see whenever we did the group interviews. The ladies and gentlemen getting together almost 50 years after they were in a class together to catch up and talk, which was it was a big impact because it makes you realize how your friendships in your teenage years in high school is actually it's important at the end.
For me, for this project in general, I had an awesome time working with everybody. It was really cool to see. I've been in group projects before. I work for a living, so I work on teams, bands, whatever. But this project was cool because you take a group of people that would maybe never normally talk to each other or work with each other, and you slowly start to see what everybody can do, and that's not always immediately evident. As the project evolved, everybody stepped up in some major way, at least once or twice, that irrevocably changed and benefited the project in general. So that was really cool to see. The interviewees doing the actual interviews, the content themselves. I learned a lot from these folks that we talked to. It was really, really cool to hear their stories, hear about their lives, and it was just an experience, so.
Well, I can say this something new for me. I've never been a part of a group research project, so I feel like I still have my confidence. Especially with me working with the first project, I wasn't really hands-on as I was this time. So Yeah, that and just being able to hear everyone's story. Everyone had a different story to bring to the table for this project, and it was cool to see how different the African American lifestyle was at boarding compared to a white person's lifestyle, and how the ones that we interviewed, they were interested in seeing how tough it was for the African Americans. So that was cool to see also.
Well, in ending, I really enjoyed working on this project again. I had the pleasure of working on the first project in the spring of last year, and working on it this year was so much different. For one, I was able to be in person with so many different, our team, our group, and also doing the in-person interviews were absolutely amazing. Being able to have that one-on-one experience was something that I could never give back ever, because it was just that amazing. I really enjoyed it. I'm so thankful I had an opportunity to be involved in a group project. It grew me as a person, because not everything was just great. You know, there were challenges that we ran into, but collectively we worked together as a team. And I think that's what not only is just a project about, but it's also building community. So we were able to actually figure things out, get along, and we developed a relationship with one another. You know, it was cool being able to talk individually with Shelby, Talacia, Kylan, Tyrone, and Michael. So I really love doing this project, the group of people that I did it with. With that being said, that concludes our presentation. We worked hard on it because it was a lot. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of research, a lot of work, but we truly enjoyed it. So thank you, Dr. Traylor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Traylor.
Yeah. Did it.
Yes.
We're done.
I know.
Now all I have to do is I'll take this and I'll make us all look like gods. Every one of us.